James Worley's farm. They searched every single portion of that property, barns and homes, and they did discover.
It was at that point in time, as you read in my one, that the mother.
Today, the jury heard about Worley's past, his childhood, upbringing, and adult life, giving the jury
a master of his craft. He had gloves everywhere. He was not going to leave behind DNA.
Tears, hugs, and gasps as the family of Sierra Joggin heard the jury recommendation of the death penalty.
Background: Sierra Joffin's life was tragically cut short on July 22, 2016, when she fell victim to a horrifying abduction and slaying in Delta, Ohio. The shocking incident shook the community and left her loved ones in unimaginable pain. Born on February 11, 1996 in Sylvania, Ohio, Sierra was a young woman full of promise. Affectionately known as CE by those close to her, she completed her education at Evergreen High School in 2014. Eager to further her studies and embark on a career path, she pursued human resource management at the University of Toledo's Junior College of Business. Additionally, she dedicated her time to an internship at her uncle's metal stamping business, showcasing a commendable work ethic and a drive for success. Tragically, on July 19, 2016, Sierra vanished without a trace. The heart-wrenching search for her came to a devastating end 3 days later when her lifeless body was discovered near County Road 7 in Delta, Ohio. The cause of her demise was determined to be asphyxiation, a brutal act of homicide that shook the entire community. James Worley's history. James Dean Worley, born on April 8, 1959 in Tacoma, Washington, is a name associated with a string of criminal activities that have left a dark mark on his history. His upbringing and life choices led him down a troubling path, culminating in severe penalties for his actions. Worley's early years were marked by educational struggles and a turbulent lifestyle. He graduated from Evergreen High School in Metamora, Ohio in 1978. His academic performance was notably poor, with a grade point average of only 1.59. Worley attributed this to his involvement in the sale and frequent use of marijuana, which he had been engaged in since the age of 14. This troubled adolescence would set the stage for a series of grave incidents in his adult life. One of the most heinous acts associated with Worley occurred in July 1990 when he ambushed a young woman named Robin Gardner. Gardner was innocently riding her bike in White House, Ohio, when Worley struck her with his truck. He then proceeded to physically attack her using a blunt force to her head and forcibly restrained her with handcuffs. In a terrifying display of aggression, he brandished a screwdriver, threatening her with the words, "I'll slay you if you don't stop screaming." He attempted to abduct her, aiming to force her into his vehicle. Miraculously, Gardner managed to escape, and she was rescued by a passing motorist. Worley was apprehended and subsequently convicted on abduction charges. The court sentenced him to serve a term of 4 to 10 years in prison with a possibility of parole. Shockingly, he served only 3 years behind bars before being granted an early release, a decision he had petitioned for himself. Unfortunately, Worley's criminal activities did not end there. In 2000, he found himself back in the clutches of the legal system after being convicted of cultivating marijuana plants and possessing weapons while on disability, both serious felonies at the time. This led to his return to prison, but once again, he managed to secure an early release in 2002 through his own petition. After regaining his freedom for the second time, Worley embarked on a different path. He established a small business at his residence and obtained a license as a trailer transporter. Despite his checkered past, he appeared to be attempting a semblance of a legitimate livelihood. James Worley's life is a testament to the complex interplay of personal choices, circumstances, and the consequences that follow. His criminal record stands as a stark reminder of the impact one individual's actions can have on the lives of others and the broader community. Worley's story serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of accountability and the need for rehabilitation and support for those who have strayed onto a destructive path. Slaying, investigation, and arrest of Sierra Joffin. On the fateful evening of July 19, 2016, tragedy struck when Sierra Joffin, a young woman with a promising future, was riding her bicycle home from her boyfriend's house. Her boyfriend accompanied her on his motorcycle until they reached County Road 6 near Metamora, Ohio, where they parted ways. As he headed back, concerns grew when Sierra failed to arrive home. Unable to reach her by phone, her worried family promptly alerted the authorities. Later that evening, a grim discovery was made. Sierra's bicycle was found deep within a cornfield, not far from where she was last seen. The county sheriff's observations indicated signs of a struggle, with telltale motorcycle tracks etched through the corn. The gravity of the situation prompted the involvement of the FBI in the investigation. They utilized technology, including her Fitbit activity tracker and smartphone signal, which led them to a location miles away from her abandoned bicycle.
It has been a difficult week for Sierra Joffin's family, along with the jurors who have been forced to view those graphs. Who performed the autopsy on Sierra Joffin took the stand today. Many of Sierra's family members left the courtroom. James Worley's farm. They searched every single portion of that property, barns and homes, and they did discover
that there was more people in between Robin and Sierra.
Three of testimony, still a strong presence of Sierra Joffin's family, her mother in the front row of that courtroom.
Inside, they made chilling discoveries. Multiple pairs of women's undergarments, one of which was stained with blood restraints, and a freezer lined with a bloodied carpet. Further incriminating evidence was found on Worley's motorcycle, as well as zip tie restraints and a ski mask in his truck. Forensic analysis revealed Sierra's DNA on duct tape and an inflatable mattress within the barn. Cell phone records place Worley at the scene of the abduction for an alarming 2-hour duration. Troublingly, he had admitted to a court-mandated therapist that he intended to refine his methods with each subsequent abduction. Subsequently, on July 22nd, just 3 days after Sierra's disappearance, Worley was apprehended on charges of abduction. A spokesperson for the sheriff's office expressed concerns that Worley might fit the profile of a serial offender, potentially harboring additional unidentified victims on his property. Despite extensive searches, no remains were discovered at the site. Tragically, on the same day, Joffin's remains were found in a shallow grave along County Road 7 in Delta, Ohio. The grim details of her tragic demise, including the asphyxiation caused by a makeshift gag, paint a horrifying picture of the events leading to her untimely passing. In rapid, the slaying, investigation, and subsequent arrest in the case of Sierra Joffin paints a harrowing portrait of a young life cut short, and the meticulous efforts of law enforcement to bring her perpetrator to justice. The extensive evidence and disturbing revelations surrounding James Worley underscore the importance of thorough investigative work and the pursuit of justice for victims of heinous crimes. Legal proceedings. Legal proceedings in the case of James Worley unfolded with a series of significant events, beginning with his indictment and arraignment. On August 16, 2016, Worley faced a total of 19 charges encompassing aggravated slaying, kidnapping, felonious attack, abduction, tampering with evidence, and misuse of a corpse. He was promptly incarcerated without the option of bail. During his arraignment, Worley staunchly entered a plea of not guilty to all charges, setting the stage for what would be a complex and closely watched legal battle. The most severe charge, aggravated slaying, carried the potential for capital punishment, signaling the gravity of the case. Subsequently, the legal proceedings moved forward, albeit with some delays. Two postponements, occurring in September 2017 and January 2018, were followed by the commencement of trial testimony in March 2018. The proceedings took place at the Fulton County Common Pleas Court in Wayson, Ohio, under the oversight of Judge Jeffrey Robinson. The prosecution built its case on a detailed narrative of the events leading up to and following Sierra Joflin's tragic demise. According to the account, Worley's web browsing history revealed a troubling detail: that he had viewed explicit material prior to committing the crime.
Anything, obviously, to charge him with in regards to that time period in between.
Women. He served time for kidnapping Robin Gardner in 1990, and we've been working for years to find out whether they're
known to drive a truck. There are individuals that have been missing from the region.
It was at that point in time, as you read, in my one, that the mother wrote
That he was a master of his craft. He had gloves everywhere. He was not going to leave behind DNA.
But, she pretty much begged her not to get in the car, not to go. And, she just watched her get in the car, drive off, and that was the last thing she...
That many had was Sierra Joggin sexually assaulted or raped, and she said no.
Following her demise, Worley purportedly transported Joflin's body to the cornfield near his property, where he interred it approximately 2 feet deep, attempting to conceal the heinous act. In stark contradiction to the prosecution's account, Worley maintained his innocence, vehemently denying any involvement in Joflin's abduction or attack. His defense strategy revolved around an alternative explanation for the evidence discovered in the barn. They asserted that the items, including the underwear, handcuffs, and BDSM-related paraphernalia, were intended for use in a planned erotic adult studio. Worley claimed that the helmet and the other items found near Joflin's bicycle were inadvertently left behind when his motorcycle broke down. The defense contested the significance of Worley's DNA concentration on the helmet, suggesting it could have been inadvertently transferred. Additionally, they highlighted a witness's account of a man in red shorts, a description incongruent with any recovered evidence on Worley's property, casting doubt on his involvement in the cornfield incident. These arguments formed the foundation of Worley's defense against the grave charges levied against him. Key trial witnesses. The trial of James Worley marked by a roster of key witnesses who played pivotal roles in shedding light on the events surrounding Sierra Joffin's tragic abduction and slaying. Megan Roberts, a special agent with the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, was one of the prosecution's key witnesses. Her testimony focused on the physical evidence recovered from various crucial locations tied to the case. This encompassed the alleged kidnapping case, Worley's residence, and the area where Joffin's remains were discovered. Importantly, much of these evidence yielded a mixture of both Worley's and Joffin's DNA, providing critical forensic support to the prosecution's case. David Morford, a detective with the Toledo Police Department, played a crucial role in presenting digital evidence during the trial.
There's an action for wrongful death, and there's also an action for fraudulent conveyance.
The aggravating circumstance outweighs the mitigating factors. There can be but one sentence.
There's a barn on it that has, unfortunately, bad memories for the family.
Today, the jury heard about Worley's past, his childhood, upbringing, and adult life, giving the jury
kind of a weirdo most of his life. And we've all known people.
For his mother later in his life. She described the moment she learned her brother.
In the defense corner, Worley's legal team presented their own witnesses. Two of these individuals were long-standing acquaintances of Worley. The first of these witnesses acknowledged, under cross-examination, that the helmet discovered on County Road 6 near the scene of Joffin's abduction was the same helmet he had purchased for Worley several years prior. This revelation potentially lent credibility to the defense's assertion that the helmet's presence was unrelated to the crime. The second witness, also questioned under cross-examination, provided a glimpse into his shared experiences with Worley. They admitted to partaking in activities involving marijuana use and shared instances of viewing explicit material together. Notably, Worley had expressed an ambition to establish a pornography studio within his barn, where he was concurrently drying marijuana plants. This revelation hinted at the presence of unconventional activities within Worley's property. Additionally, the witness attested that Worley had encountered electrical issues with his motorcycle, but emphasized that it had never left him stranded. These witnesses played instrumental roles in constructing a comprehensive account of the circumstances surrounding Sierra Joffin's tragic fate. Their testimonies provided critical insights into the events leading up to and following her abduction, contributing to the body of evidence upon which the trial's outcome hinged. Verdict and sentencing. Following a thorough trial, the verdict in the case of James Worley was delivered on March 28, 2018. Worley was found guilty of 17 out of the 19 original cases, including aggravating slaying, after a relatively short deliberation period of less than 6 hours. Ohio's jury sentencing guidelines required a careful consideration of both mitigating and aggravating factors. These factors would determine whether a life sentence or a demise penalty was appropriate. The defense argued for a life sentence, painting Worley as a psychologically troubled individual, emphasizing his diagnosed physical paraphilia disorder. They asserted that the attack may have been motivated by physical sadism linked to a fetish disorder. However, the prosecution countered this by highlighting that Worley had a normal upbringing and was aware of the distinction between right and wrong. They contended that the aggravating factors in his crimes outweighed any psychological disorders. They also presented recorded conversations that suggested Worley may have been involved in other unsolved cases, further reinforcing their case for the demise penalty. Before the sentencing, Worley addressed the court, presenting a lengthy and somewhat disjointed statement. He expressed his belief in his own innocence, suggesting that someone else framed him for the crime. This statement elicited strong emotions from those in attendance, particularly when he referred to Sierra Joffin as a beautiful girl. Ultimately, the jury recommended capital punishment, a decision that Judge Jeffrey Robinson upheld on April 16, 2018. Judge Robinson made it clear that if there were any doubts about Worley's guilt, a life sentence would have been considered. Alongside the demise penalty, Worley received additional prison terms for charges related to the case, totaling 11 years for kidnapping, 8 years for felonious attack, 11 months for possessing criminal tools, and 36 months each for tampering with evidence and having weapons under disability. Since April 19, 2018, James Worley has been confined to Demise Row at the Chillicothe Correctional Institution, bearing the inmate number A743593. His ending date, initially set for June 3, 2019, faced delays due to ongoing appeals. In July 2020, Worley's legal team filed a motion with the Ohio Supreme Court seeking to overturn his original conviction and secure a new trial. They cited various reasons, including Worley's mental health, alleged legal violations, and the claim that the jury pool was compromised due to the community's close-knit nature. Despite their efforts, the appeal was rejected, and a new ending date of May 20, 2025 has been set for James Worley. Aftermath. After the tragic abduction and slaying of Sierra Joffin, the community came together to honor her memory and seek justice for the heinous crime. Her funeral, a somber event, was held on July 28, 2016 at Christ the Word Church in Sylvania, Ohio. It was a moment for family, friends, and the community to grieve and pay their respects. Sierra's final resting place is in Amboy Township Cemetery near Metamora, Ohio, providing a serene location for her memory to endure. In response to this devastating incident, community members organized a meaningful event called the Take Back the Roads Memorial Walk. This commemorative walk took place along the very road where Sierra's bicycle was discovered, serving as a symbolic gesture to reclaim his sense of safety and unity in the wake of the tragedy. To further commemorate Sierra's legacy and contribute to a cause she believed in, the Evergreen School District hosted the Joggin' for Joffin 5K run on October 2, 2016. The event aimed to raise funds for the Sierra Joffin Memorial Scholarship Fund and garner support for the creation of a violent offender registry bill. The response from the community was overwhelming, with a much larger turnout than anticipated, demonstrating the widespread support and determination to effect positive change. In the aftermath of her disappearance and the subsequent search efforts, Sierra's family established the Sierra Joffin Memorial Scholarship Fund. This fund was created using donations from a GoFundMe page set up during the search, as well as proceeds from the school's District 5K run. Administered by the Toledo Community Foundation, the scholarship benefits graduates of Evergreen High School who have excelled in varsity sports and organizations. Additionally, in September 2019, a plaque was dedicated and 2 trees were planted at the high school, serving as a lasting tribute to Sierra's memory.
Yes.
Okay, and then you dropped her off.
And that was it.
And you don't remember where you dropped her off?
No.
And did you hope that they will find more victims and families and give them closure, that they continue to share their pain and their...
Asked if I was willing to talk with him. I said, sure. He said that they were looking for her, and I said, well, why? What has she done?
James Worley that was suspicious or negative, to give the FBI a call. You can also give me a call, and of course I'll pass that along.
And I want to say that it was a blue car, but I'm not sure if it was a Chevy.
As part of the legal proceedings, Worley's property in Delta, Ohio was awarded to Joffin State in July 2018. In a symbolic act, the main barn on the property was demolished, signifying a step toward closure for the family. A monetary settlement of $3.6 million was also reached, with a stipulation that it would only be enforced under specific circumstances. These included scenarios such as the defendant receiving an unexpected windfall, like winning the lottery or acquiring book or movie rights. In August 2020, the Fulton County Sheriff's Department, with assistance from the FBI, conducted another search of the Worley property using excavation equipment. While the specifics of the search were not disclosed, it was confirmed that it was not directly related to Sierra's case. This event underscores the ongoing commitment of law enforcement to thoroughly investigate and gather any potential evidence in the pursuit of justice. Sierra's Law. Sierra's Law emerged as a crucial legislative response in the wake of the tragic abduction and slaying of Sierra Joffin. It was born out of a collective determination to prevent such heinous crimes from occurring again, particularly by ensuring that vital information about convicted felons was readily accessible to both law enforcement and the public. During the investigation into Joffin's slaying, it came to light that her assistant, James Worley, was not listed in any local, state, or federal database tracking offenders. This information gap raised the distressing possibility that her life might have been saved if such a database had been available. This realization spurred activists and Joffin's family to advocate for a system that would alert the public about offenders living in their communities with the hope of preventing future tragedies.
There are 12 men and women that are seated on the jury, as well as 6 alternates. I can tell you by taking a look, after listening for some time, Worley said he had love in his heart for the Joggin family and tried to explain that he felt terrible for them.
Show of support for Sierra everywhere, with decals on cars and trucks with the words, "We love." Here's hugs and gasped as the family of Sierra Joggin heard the jury recommendation of the death penalty.
In November 2017, the rebranded Sierra's Law was introduced to the Ohio Senate as Senate Bill 231. Joffin's mother, a passionate advocate for the bill, addressed legislators in November 2018, urging them to pass this critical piece of legislation. On December 6, 2018, the bill was approved, marking a significant milestone. Governor John Kasich signed it into law on December 19, underscoring the broad support and recognition of its importance in safeguarding communities. The law officially went into effect on March 20, 2019, solidifying its role in enhancing public safety and empowering communities with information to better protect themselves. Sierra's law stands as a lasting tribute to Sierra Joffin's memory, a testament to the enduring impact one individual's tragic story can have in catalyzing positive change for an entire community. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.